All right, hello everybody. Hello again. So in this hopefully mercifully shortish video, I'm going to show you how to do kind of a slideshow type animated GIF. I know you've probably maybe seen some other videos from me about doing them from a video or doing them sort of a motion thing with things moving around. This one, things don't really move around, but it's more of a kind of a slideshow. Really typical for, not that these are all that way, but a pretty typical use of animated GIFs. So this is an article that maybe I linked for you guys if it's still around on the internet, but hopefully you've seen something like this. And this is an article about using animated GIFs in advertising, in emails, right? So everybody gets lots of emails, spam and stuff, right? And animated GIFs are a place that you can use those because they don't require any plugin. They're not going to be anything new for the browser or the email app or anything to figure out, because these have been around, animated GIFs have been around for years, right? And they kind of recently made, well, not very, a few years ago made a kind of a comeback. So they're still really popular. So this one's for anthropology, kind of this raining text thing. This one's kind of cool, this octopus guy here. This one from art.com, you can see that most of the frame is most of the image is the same from frame to frame. Just the background changes with the art on the wall, right? So that makes it semi-easier to do in some ways, but also helps with file size. The less you change in the frame for an animated GIF, the more the animated GIF likes to compress it. So that's kind of what we're talking about. And here's another one with clothes. So this is pretty typical too. You're just kind of seeing most of this image is the same, but then the clothes change. There's the skirt that I like to wear on Wednesdays. This one's pretty cool. Got these little winky characters here, right? And a little bit of this, the price tags move, and you get the idea. I like this one a lot. This is very short and pretty simple, but it's just kind of this fade. Now, fades are going to add to your file size a little bit, but not that you can't do them, but you have to be careful. And then it's got this sort of snow, right? And then this little bit of movement in the background. These objects kind of moving. A little bit of parallax. Here's another one where most of the frame is the same, and then the model obviously changes, clothes and things like that. Same thing here, I think. So I think you kind of get the idea, but lots of things you can do with nothing's really moving. Well, some of those are moving, but this one's kind of blinky. I don't like the blinky stuff, but you can do a lot with just sort of changing small things, and it attracts the viewer's eye, right? That's kind of the idea. If you overdo it, it's going to become repulsive, right? People don't like to look at crazy, nutty animations usually, but there's a Kate Spade one, some glowy text things. You get the idea. So here's what we're going to make. We're going to make this simple target kind of thing. So it's going to say, let me see if I can zoom in if it works, if it still plays. Yeah. It says hungry for quality, and then it ends up on Target. So you can get groceries at Target. Did you guys know that? I bet you did. Yeah, you probably did. So what I did to do this is just find a few stock photos that have food, obviously, and then they were on a white background. And that made it a lot easier on me as well, because I didn't have to sort of cut them out or do a bunch of Photoshop work. They're already on a white background. I did change the background for you guys on this file because this was not really white. It's kind of off-white. But it made it easier to put them together and composite them without doing a bunch of Photoshop. Another good thing about having white backgrounds like this is that, again, these are all, well, it's supposed to be, this is all the same color, right? It's all white. So that makes it easier for the GIF to compress if this is more solid colors. GIFs like solid colors, right? They don't like tons of colors. So this one has a little bit of banding in it, but I think you'll get the idea. Okay, so let's make this guy here. So I've got this folder. I probably give this to you maybe, but maybe not, depending on what mood I'm in that day. But here's the images, right? I've got this one of the fried egg thing. And then that's, this is the setup, actually. Maybe you'll see this one too. This is kind of the setup, the final setup for that one. Here's the actual animation. Here's the vegetables. Is tomato a fruit? I guess it is. I always hear that controversy. Target logo, right, which I kind of borrowed. And then the apples, right? So those are the images we're going to use. So I'm going to drag this over to the side a little bit to get rid of this guy as well. I wanted to go back to what size we're going to do. So this is a guide to ad sizes from Google, which is a company you probably heard about that does some advertising on the web. And we're going to do this medium rectangle size, which is 300 by 250. So that's what size we're going to do, kind of pretending that this might go on a website too, even though a lot of times they're not going to be GIFs, but they could be, I think. So that's what we're going to do. And there's lots of different sizes and things for different ads, but we're going to do this one right here, 300 by 250. All right, so I'm going to go into my trusty Photoshop here, and it may look different depending on when you see this. It seems like the interface changes every 3 or 4 weeks now, but it doesn't really matter. The process is pretty similar. I'm going to go to open a new file. Not open. I want create new. We're going to do this from new. And I'm going to make this 300 by the width and 250 for the height, and that's in pixels. Make sure it's in pixels. The resolution, remember, kind of doesn't really matter, but by default, it's probably going to be 72, which is fine. Doesn't really matter. Background contents doesn't matter a ton. I guess you could make it white. Let's go ahead and make it white, since we're going to have a white background in general. And I think that's it. The rest you can kind of leave the same. So I'm going to say OK. And I get the dreaded blank canvas, which means I got to do something from scratch, right? OK, so what we're going to do is take these files. Let me bring these. Oops, I lost it here. Bring these to the side. Let me resize this so you guys can see both at the same time. So what we're going to do is kind of, what you can do is use smart objects for this. You don't have to, but it's a quick way to get files into a document, different files into a different document. And the other good thing about it is when I get them in, I can resize them and do stuff to them, and it won't degrade the image. Here's what I mean. So I'm just going to drag in the apples. So here's my apples, right? I'm going to drag that in. And there it is. And I'm just going to hit enter on my keyboard. And that accepts it at that size. So I could resize it before I did that, but it doesn't really matter at this point. I'm going to resize it after. Then I'm going to do the rest of them. So the Target logo, bring that one in. Hit enter. I'm going to bring in, this one says background, but really it's the vegetables. Nobody wanted to say vegetables or something. There we go. Vegetables. And what do we got left? We got fried, which is the egg one, right? So I'm going to grab that guy and drag that in. And there we go. I just hit enter to accept that. Now I'm going to arrange these. It doesn't really matter a whole lot how I arrange these, to be honest, because I'm just going to kind of turn on and off different layers. Let me move this over so we get more space here. I'm going to zoom in a little bit as well so you can see better. All right, so I think I'm just going to leave them in that order for now. And I do also need the text that I'm going to use. So that is going to be hungry for quality. I came up with that myself. I'm an advertising genius. So I'm going to grab my type tool, which is the T down here in the toolbar there. And I'm going to click over here. And I have already done this to get ready for this. So it's already set up with what the font I want to use and the color and all that. So I'm kind of cheating. No, it's not cheating. That's called preparation. I'm going to go up here, and it's actually Helvetica Neue, or Neue Helvetica, some people say, I think. It's going to be bold. It's going to be 39 point. Doesn't have to be that exactly, but and I chose that because it kind of looks like the Target font. I'm not sure if it exactly is, but it looks pretty darn close. So that's going to be my text, and I'm going to say hungry. I'm just typing this now. If I could type, which you guys know I can't. So for quality. Question mark. Okay, so I'm going to take so I type that, I hit enter on the keyboard to kind of input that text. And then I'm going to go to my move tool up here and grab it. And I think I'm going to go right about there, or something like that. So what I'm doing is I'm going to leave this text on screen or in the animation as I go through the other images, kind of like you saw when I showed you the final doodad. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. Okay, so let's grab these guys and move them around a little bit. So I'm going to go to the fried egg thing and move that up here a little bit. Maybe about like that, maybe. And then I'm going to take I'm going to turn that off. So to turn that off, remember, if you didn't know this, to turn any of these off, you can hit it on the eyeball, right? So I click on the eyeball, and that makes it invisible. And that's how we're going to animate it as well. Let's actually turn off all these guys except for the vegetables. So I'm going to take the vegetables guys and move these up here. And you can see that it has a little bit of an off-white background. I don't know if you guys can see that in the video. It's pretty subtle. I probably, if I was gonna do this better, I would get rid of that and make it pure white. But well, for the sake of being fast, we'll leave it the way it is. But if I was doing this and getting paid a ton of money, which I'm not, I would probably take out that white, or it's off-white. And you guys might not even be able to see it, but I can see it. Anyway, so there is the wonderful vegetables and maybe fruit. Tomato, right? And then I'm going to turn that one off, turn this guy on, and position it. So I'm just positioning them all where I want them. So I'm going to have them up here in the corner. That one looks fine. And then the last one is the sort of the end thing is the target. So on this one, let me turn off the text. That's fine. So it looks a little bit jagged because I'm zoomed in here. If I zoom out to normal size, 100%, which is Command 1 or Control 1 on a PC, I think, then it looks fine. I can also hold down Option or Alt on the PC and hold my scroll wheel to zoom in and out. You guys probably knew that, but anyway, so there is my my end frame. So I want to end on that because I want people to go like, wow, where can I get quality vegetables and fruits? Oh, Target, duh, right? And then they go to Target and they spend all their money. All right, so I think we are ready to go. So now what I want to do is set up my first frame. So my first frame is going to be this guy and turn that off. So all I want to do is turn on and off the frames or the layers that I want to use. So what I did, if you guys didn't see that, let me try to zoom correctly here. I turned on the text that says hungry for quality. I turned on the egg. That sounds weird, turned on the egg. And then the background is still on. The rest are all off. The eyeballs are off there, if you can see that, right? So they're all invisible. So this is gonna be my first frame. So what you wanna do when you do this kind of animation, or all of it anyway, in Photoshop, any kind of animation, is set up your frames the way you want them to be, your layers the way they want them to be when you're animating it, right? So now we're ready to animate, I believe. So I'm gonna go up to Window. If it's not visible, I need to see the timeline window. So I'm gonna go Window and Timeline, which is not a time travel thing or anything. You can't go back and, kill Thanos before he's born or anything. It is for animation. So down here on Timeline, I can see that right there. It's at the bottom, it shows up. And then you may have seen this in another video, but I wanna create a frame animation. It might say, create video timeline by default, depending on if you've ever used it before. It kind of remembers the last thing you did. I don't want a video timeline. This is not video. This is going to be a frame animation. So I select create frame animation, and that's what I want. And then I go ahead and click that, and that's a button. That's kind of weird interface design. You might not know that's a button, but it is. You click on it, and it makes this timeline. With animation. I can actually make this bigger, I think, if I go to panel options and go like that, and it says thumbnail size, right? I can pick a larger thumbnail size, say okay, and it's bigger. I always like it as big as it can get so I can actually see what's going on. That would be crazy, right? Okay, so now it says hungry for quality. That's correct. So now that's the first frame. There's nothing going on though, right? This is technically, I guess it's not really an animation yet, but it will be. So now I go ahead and down here at the bottom, maybe I'll move this up a tiny bit. It probably doesn't matter. But I'm gonna go down here. I don't want to get in the way of any of the YouTube junk or anything. So I'm gonna go down here to the bottom and click on this plus, and that says duplicate selected frame. So remember, you can roll over these guys and it'll tell you what happens. Duplicates the frame. So I duplicated the frame. It's exactly the same, very boring animation. If I played it, it would be very boring. Nothing would happen. So now I make my changes, right? That's the idea. So I'm gonna go ahead and make my second frame. Let's make it this fruit basket thing. Oh yeah, fruit basket thing. So all I'm gonna do over here is click on the eggs to turn them off and turn on the apples, right there. So I clicked on that to turn that off, and I clicked on that to turn that on, that layer. So now it is an animation. It's not done, but so here's the first frame, here's the second frame. Remember, you can click on these two guys to cycle between frames. You can play here with this play button. Ow, that hurts my That's going to cause some sort of seizure. That doesn't look very good, but that we're still not done yet. Down here at the bottom, you've got play controls. 1 step back, 1 step forward. This is tweening, which we're not doing in this video. We don't need to. This throws away the frame if you said, well, I really messed that up. I gotta get rid of that frame. Okay, so I've got those two. Now I'm gonna just duplicate that frame again. And the third frame, we're just gonna do the same thing, except we're gonna use the assorted fruits and vegetables, assuming that this is a fruit, like we said. So I just turned on the this guy and turned off this guy. So now here's 1, 2, 3, right? Good. I think the fourth frame is just our target logo. So I'm gonna duplicate the frame again. That makes this fourth frame down there at the bottom, right there. And now I'm going to turn off this guy, which was the fruit thing, fruit and vegetables. And then I turn on the target logo, and I'm going to turn off my text as well, because I don't want that on top of that, right? I could probably move this down. And that's it. So now if I play it, it's still going to be way too fast. Wow, that's too fast, right? So that's too fast. Obviously, you don't want to hurt people. So this is where I'm going to change that delay. So down here at the bottom, maybe you saw this in another video, maybe not, but this is the delay. It's set for 0, which is infinite speed, which is not really a thing, but that means no delay. Play as fast as you can, basically. So what I'm gonna do is change that to 2 seconds. And I kind of already figured this out ahead of time. You gotta play with your, whatever you're doing. So I'm gonna change all these to 2 seconds. I could do them all at once, actually, by selecting them all and choosing 2, but there's only 4 frames here. And I think the last frame, maybe I want to stick on that one. I call it sticking a little longer. So I'm gonna go to other instead of 2, and I'll choose a delay of 3 seconds. Why am I doing that? Because I want people to stare at the Target logo until they start chanting about Target and have to go to Target. It's kind of a cult thing. Yeah, so I think that's pretty good. And then how many times do I want this thing to run? So that is down here, right? It says forever. Well, that's a long time. Let's click on that and go 3 times. You could put whatever you want in. I tend to put 3. No real reason. You could do more. But remember that if an animation runs forever, it can get annoying, but then maybe it attracts attention. You'd have to look at some current research on that. Somewhere you're gonna get some diminishing returns where it's not gonna help you to keep running that thing. Let's go 4, let's be crazy. I'm gonna go other, just to show you how that works. Put 4, say okay. And then I think we're good. So let's play it now and see what it looks like. Hungry for quality, yes I am. Ooh, I want some apples. And I want fruits and vegetables. And I'm gotta go to Target, I guess. Man, that is effective advertising. All right, I think that's it. When are we gonna export it? So now that I got that, everything is like I want it. I'm gonna save it. That was a big mistake. I did not save this file that whole time. And if I had a power surge or, you know, my mom unplugged my computer, I don't live with my mom, come on. I would have this would be gone, right? So I'm gonna go to File and Save. And I'll save this as, where are we? I'm gonna save this as Target animation. And you remember you wanna save it as a PSD file, which is what we have up here, because the PSD file, which is Photoshop document, that will save all of our animation settings. If I just save the GIF at the end here, I'm not gonna be able to edit that thing very easily, if at all. Well, I guess I could, but it would be really bad. So I want to save that as a PSD. So I save it. I look up here and make sure it says it's saved. Yep. And then now I can export it. So I'm going to go to File. And as of this moment, I think I still need to go to Save for Web Legacy right here to save a animated GIF. I'll probably find out differently as soon as you guys watch this, but I'm going to do that because I know this works. So I'm going to go to Save for Web Legacy. And then that is where I can go up here. So I get this, and it even has little play controls in here. I can see what it looks like right over here on the right. And then I can go up here, and if it wasn't already set to GIF, you would go up here and change it to GIF up there. Remember, it has to be a GIF for this to work. And then I could play with the number of colors. So again, if you go, when you're making a GIF, you kind of start low. and then you go up until it looks okay. So that looks pretty banded. Dithered, right? I don't have enough colors there to make my apples look good. Or if I go back a frame, yeah, that looks terrible, right? So I'm gonna raise the number of colors until everything looks good. No, it's gonna be 256. I already know. 128. It's getting there, but I'm gonna have to go 256. And that's the reason for that. And it still looks a little banded if I zoom in there. Let's go. There's some dithering in there, but not horrible. I could go add some diffusion dither. Maybe that looks a little better. It might affect the file size. Let's see. So remember, you can look down here and see the file size right down there. So I want a small file size, but I can mess with the dithering up here. Right here, it says no dither to try to get it to look better. So you're balancing always when you're optimizing GIFs and other images, you're balancing the file size with the quality. You want the smallest file size you can get with the best quality you can get, an acceptable quality, let's put it that way. So I'm gonna go to diffusion dither, and that may look a little better. Remember, I'm zoomed in. If I zoom out to normal size, yeah, that looks pretty good actually. And the file size went up a little, but it's not too bad. I think we're good. I think that's it. So I'm gonna go to play it one more time, make sure it looks okay. Is it too slow? You guys can decide. I guess it's okay. So what is it? 6 seconds, 9 seconds long? I could maybe go a little faster, but we're gonna say that's fine. So I'm going to click on save down here at the bottom, save. And I'll save this as target animation 1. Maybe I change it later. I'm gonna say target animation 1.gif. Click save. Nothing happens. Oh no, I gotta start over. No, you don't. It's in the folder, man. Here's the folder. It says target animation 1. If you want to take a look at that, here is my browser again. That's the old one, the one I showed you when we started. Here is the one I just made. I drag it into the browser, and there it is. There's what we just made. Actually, I made it. You guys didn't do anything. You just watched the video. All right. I think that's it. Oh man, I gotta go get some eggs and some apples and some fruit and vegetables. All right, so I think that is it for that one. I hope that was fun and you didn't have to code or anything. So I'll talk to you guys again later. Sorry, I knew I forgot one quick thing. I was gonna tell you guys about the smart objects. When we drag those in, I never talked about that. So when we drag those in at the beginning of this video, that's called a smart object. And you get this little icon down here in the bottom of the layers panel, and that means it's a smart object. What does that mean? That means it's kind of editable a little bit. Yeah, so I could resize this. So if I wanted to have, let's say, these guys be, let me go back to this frame. I wanted these guys to be bigger. I could go to that frame. I should have done this ahead of time, but I'm gonna go ahead and go to edit and free transform on there. And then I get those, the X again, and that means I can resize this thing. So that's what's good about these smart objects down here, and you can tell it's a smart object again because of that little guy right there. That you can edit them and you don't lose quality. If I would have just, which I could have done, I could have just opened those images and moved them in as a separate layer without being a smart object. It would be about the same process, but if I resized or distorted or did anything to those layers, they would degrade quality a little bit. So what this does is it kind of goes back to the original image information and kind of updates that. So it's kind of like you're embedding images inside of images. Maybe you've seen that in another video earlier, and I forgot to mention it for this one, but that's what I did with that. I drug? What's the past tense? Drag those in, right? I get a smart object, and now I can change this if I wanted to, and hit enter, and now it's changed. And it's not any change to the quality of the image stays about, as good as it can stay. So forgot to mention that. Okay, that's the end of this one, I promise.